Hello. Welcome to my channel Touching Stories. You're about to hear an amazing story about love and unexpected decisions. Enjoy watching.
Joe walked toward the cemetery on his way, picking wildflowers that his wife loved so much. In fact, his Lily was always happy about everything, the colors, the sunshine of a new day. He was always amazed by her energy, which she shared with everyone around her. She was loved by all her relatives, neighbors, and friends. He remembered how they had met. It was when he came back from the army and went with his friends to the disco of the village club. She was standing with her friends, and they were talking about something cheerfully. He noticed her at once and asked his friends who she was. "So it's Lily. Why didn't you recognize her?" "So she's Lily. She was in 9th grade when you were in the army. Now she's a seamstress in high school. I don't remember her at all." "Of course, you liked May back then. You did. By the way, she'll be here soon with her friends too. I even went out with her a couple times, but she won't let anyone near her. She's probably waiting for you. Did you have a thing with her, by the way?" "Yeah, I went out with her a couple times too. But I didn't like her. She was a bit of a wimp. I can't even talk to her." "You shouldn't say that. She's a good-looking girl. You'll see how beautiful she's become. You wouldn't know it." Joe listened to his friends, but he kept his eyes on Lily, who didn't pay any attention to him. She was still talking cheerfully with her friends. He saw that the girl was very cheerful, surrounded by her friends, who almost looked into her mouth. "Hi, Joe. How are you doing?" He heard a woman's voice beside him and could hardly tear his gaze away. It was May standing in front of him. Yes, the boys were right. She had indeed become even more beautiful than before. True, it was already beauty that didn't appeal to him. Back in high school, he had liked her. But after 2 days, he realized that this is not what he needs. This is not his woman, and he is not interested in her. But May, apparently, thought differently and tried in every way to draw his attention to herself. "Are you more mature?" "I don't recognize you," May said and smiled. "I don't recognize you either. You're even more beautiful than before. How are you? What do you do?" "I work at the store with my mom. The store manager was happy to hire me. He said such a beauty should stand behind the counter and attract customers. So I have a great job. How are you doing? What do you think you'll do? Will you go to your father's factory? He's the director of the wood processing plant now." "I know. My mom wrote me in a letter that he was appointed director. Yes, I'll work with him. But on the personal front, did you bring your fiancée with you?" "No. No, I didn't. And I didn't have time. I was in the army and I didn't do anything stupid." "That means Justin did. He brought his cockroach wife back from the darkness. His mom was shocked. She was pregnant too. Our friend who was waiting for him went crazy, cried all day, because he promised to marry her when he got out of the army, and now this." "I see. And you haven't gotten married yet?" "No, I haven't met someone I'd give my hand and heart to yet. No. I've had a lot of suitors, but I haven't had any." "Hey, Joe, why don't we go dancing? It's the slow dance, and the gentlemen are inviting the ladies." Joe didn't feel like dancing with May. Besides, he felt like she'd poured a bottle of perfume all over herself, and now he had a lump in his throat from the persistent odor. "Okay, let's go." They moved slowly to the music, and he could feel May pressing against him. It made him feel uncomfortable, but he kept his gaze down and looked around. His gaze stopped again on Lily, who had been asked to dance by his friend Tony. They moved quietly to the music, and he saw his friend say something in her ear. She shook her head, apparently disagreeing with something, and then stepped away from him altogether and went to her friends. Tony shrugged and walked out of the club. "I'm sorry, May. I have to go out," Joe said. He went to the exit as well. Tony was standing on the porch smoking a cigarette. "What, you run out like a scalded man?" "May, I thought the dance wasn't over yet. I like Lily. I asked her to go out with me, but she won't go out with me. She keeps telling me I'm not her type. And she's never even talked to me. How can you say that to someone you don't know? She probably didn't mean it like that. She doesn't like your looks, so she doesn't want to get to know you. That's all." "I understand, but when I see her, it makes my teeth clench. She's so beautiful." "I thought you liked May." "No. Besides, I think May's crazy about you. She's been telling all her friends that when she gets you out of the army, you'll get married." Me and the boys used to get mad at you for not telling us. That's an interesting way of putting it. It's like that saying, without me, I got married. I didn't promise anything. I never even met her, and I didn't ask her to wait for me. I thought she'd marry someone else in 2 years. Yeah, there's a lot of people chasing her, but she won't go for it. Yeah, she did go out a couple times, but probably out of boredom. I've never seen anything serious about her. You were talking to me like she's my girlfriend. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care what she's got going on. In fact, let's go home. I'm sick of it. Let's go. I'm in a bad mood too. What do these girls always want? What more do they want? Besides, I have serious intentions. But no, she just keeps turning her nose up at me. Joe went home and went to bed, but he couldn't sleep. The image of Lily kept running through his mind. He'd fallen in love with her at first sight, wondering how he hadn't noticed such beauty before. I'll have to get to know her better, he thought, because I can't do that for long. She's driving me crazy. The next day, Joe and the boys went to the market. Mom said to get some stuff. So he and his friends went for a walk. While I was away, the village grew. They've built so many houses and even started a cement factory. You were right. A lot of people from the cities came here, especially when they built another school and a hospital. Now we have 3 hospitals and 4 schools. Young teachers and doctors have come here. We've built houses for them. They say they'll build another kindergarten, but it's not for sure yet. Listen, are you going to work at your father's factory? Why don't you join us at the cement factory? We'll all work together. It won't work. I'd already promised my father. It wouldn't look good if I changed my mind at the last minute. You're right. Your father's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He's like that at work. When he comes home, he's fine. At first, my mom told me that her friends always asked her how she lived with such a tyrant. And she told them that she lived like that and suffered. And my father, for all this time, never once hurt my mom. We have a strong and friendly family. That's great. Mine's in the middle of a divorce. My father fell in love with a teacher who came from the city to work here. He's out of his mind. It's a shame for my mom to see her husband pining for another woman after all these years together. You're right. It's good to have a close-knit family. Our neighbors are getting divorced too. Yesterday, my aunt came to my mother's house to complain about her husband, who's also straying. Uncle Sam's gone crazy. Not only can't decide who he loves more, his wife or his mistress, but he started drinking. He comes home drunk every day. That's why they're always fighting. At the market, Joe saw yesterday's girls, led by Lily. She was dressed in a blue sundress, which suited her well, and on her head she wore a wreath of wildflowers. His feet carried him toward them, and before he knew it, he was up close to Lily and asked, "Hey, girls, how are you?" Lily raised an eyebrow in surprise and smiled and replied, "Good. How are you guys doing?" "We're fine too. Why don't we go home together from the market? I think it would be more fun for everyone." "Well, I don't know, girls. Do you agree?" "Yes." "Sure, let's go," the girls said with glee and laughed. Joe had always thought of himself as a smart man who could talk about anything. And here's something had happened to him, because as they walked back home, he couldn't get a word in edgewise. Good thing his friends wouldn't shut up, so he didn't have to think of anything. "Girls, let's go to the river in the evening. The water's as warm as milk. We'll go swimming. We'll bake potatoes on the fire. How about it?" "It's not a bad idea. Let's go, but not too late, because we have school tomorrow and we can't be late." "That's understandable, because we have to work tomorrow too." "Yeah, and Joe has his first day of work tomorrow, so he can't be late, or his father won't give him a hard time about it." Lily looked at him cheerfully, then looked away. It seemed to Joe that she was afraid of him. That's all right. We'll have to get to know her better, and then everything will be all right, he thought. In the evening, as planned, everyone gathered at the river. The guys built a huge fire, and the girls carefully began to put potatoes on the fire. Soon the delicious smell began to spread, and those who had already bathed decided to try what they had gotten. It was fun. Everyone remembered school, especially those times when they bullied and annoyed the teachers. "Joe, do you remember how you and I used to pick on the math teacher all the time?" "Yeah, I do." "Of course I remember, especially when my dad brought home some glue to put on his rubber boat. And I took it from him, and we smeared it on the teacher's chair, and it stuck and he couldn't get his pants off. Then, to be honest, even I was scared. Then there was a huge scandal. They called us all to the principal's office and lectured us for an hour on how to behave. When we were getting ready to go home, Joe came up to Lily and said he'd walk her home. That's okay. Killy and I can walk home together. Besides, I live right next door. Well, I'm not walking you home because you live near or far. I just want to get to know you. Okay then, but I'm not leaving Kylie. She's coming with us. The three of them walked, and Joe didn't know what to talk about. He was determined to talk to Lily, but Kylie was in the way. They talked about studying, and he just walked beside her and listened. Soon Kylie said goodbye, told him she was already here, and ran home, and Joe and Lily went on their way. It's strange, we were at the same school, and I don't remember you at all. You didn't pay any attention to us back then. You were in high school. I remember you and your friends. You were so proud of your school, and I think May was with her friends, but she didn't go to school with you. If I'm not mistaken, she was in the same class. That's right. To be honest, she really annoyed me. I never understood why she was with us. But at one time, to be honest, we were all in love with her. We thought she was the most beautiful girl in the universe. Then I asked her out and realized I wasn't interested in her. She and I have different outlooks on life. That's weird. I thought you two were together. She was waiting for you to get out of the army. I was surprised yesterday that you two were dancing together and then you dumped her and left. Well, first of all, nobody was waiting for anybody. And secondly, she smelled so much perfume that I'd have been allergic to it. I think everyone in the audience felt it. It was really strong. Lily, let's meet tomorrow evening for a walk around the village. It's been 2 years of change here. I don't know anything, and you can't tell him. You mean you want me to be your guide? Lily laughed. Yes, I'd like that very much. Good. Then come over tonight after 8. I'll be free. But I won't be able to stay out late, only until 10 o'clock at night. Okay, whatever you say. Okay. Good night then. I'll come over tomorrow. Good night. Come over. Joe gave her a look, and when the door closed behind her, he went home. He was happy. The acquaintance, so to speak, had taken place, even though it was known that she knew him from school. The next day, Joe and his father went to his workplace. The factory was huge. His father told his son what they were doing now, and then showed him the machine he would be working on. Now Roger's going to show you around, so if you have any questions, you can ask him, but I have to go, because I have another meeting today. They're probably waiting for me. All right, father, I'll take care of it. Joe couldn't wait for the workday to end. After work, he left the factory and found his two friends Tony and Justin waiting for him. How was your first day at work? How tired? Not really, and I liked it a lot. It's just what I needed. How was your day? What are you guys doing here, by the way? What's that? Waiting for you. You're weird. We've been waiting for you for 2 years, so you're not going anywhere now. And we have a question for you. What are we doing tonight? And don't tell us you're tired and don't want to go out. Guys, we're off tonight. I got a date. Who with? I'm curious. Let me not say anything yet, because I'm not sure I'm gonna make it. She's a modest girl. She's a shy girl, and she's probably not gonna go out with me, although I really want her to. Well, okay then, but you have to promise us that you'll tell us later, because we have no secrets from each other. I promise, guys, I'll tell you later. By the way, where are we going now? My house is on the other side of town, so we're going to the store to get some fresh bread to take home. Yeah, that's what we always do when we get home from work. My mother, for example, is always busy. She comes home from work and cooks dinner, and the groceries are on me. Okay, let's go. I'll at least see what kind of store this is. So it's a superstore now. Yeah, he's been upset. It's really big now. Everything from bread to socks. It's just like in the city, you go to one store and buy everything you need. When they entered the store, Joe immediately saw May, who also noticed them and immediately smiling, came up to them. Hello, boys. Why are you here? By the way, Joe, how's your first day on the job? All right, said Joe, looking around. The store is really big. So you're not working here alone? No, I'm not. There's a salesman in every department. Joe, what are you doing tonight? I got a business to run, so I'm busy tonight. I see. I'd like to take you for a walk around the village, show you around. You've been away for 2 years, even more. Some other time. Could you come with me, May, for a walk? You can show me around our wonderful village. No, you know everything here without me. No. The boys bought bread, and Joe waited for them, seeing that May didn't let May out of the sight. He didn't like it, but there was nothing to do. The only thing on his mind was to get home, wash up, and go to Lily, whom he already missed very much. Lily washed the dishes and walked to her room, looking at the clock. It turns out Joe would be here soon, and she hadn't cleaned herself up yet. She had a busy day today. First school and then chores at home. She had a very sick mother who had been paralyzed when her father left them. So now at home she was doing the best she could. After her studies were over, she would stay at the college and scrub the floors. The salary, of course, was small, but they had enough. Besides, her mother had a disability pension. Lily dreamed that when she graduated, she would open her own atelier and sew a beautiful dress. She drew beautifully and came up with such models that teachers admired it. They always told her that she was a very talented girl and that success awaited her. She painted her hair and thought to herself that she didn't know why she had agreed to this date. She liked Joe, of course, but she realized that it was probably just entertainment for him and he would eventually marry May. When she told her friends that she was going out with him tonight, they replied that he probably wanted to get back at May that way. After all, while he was in the army, she went out with other boys, even though she kept saying she was waiting for Joe to come home from the army. You know how sneaky guys are. They're always making their girlfriends jealous of them. Kylie, what are you talking about? Most of the time it's the girls who do it, not the guys. I don't know. I'm just saying please be careful because you know what May is like. She could burn down half the village with jealousy. Yeah, I understand. I don't know what came over me last night. To be honest, I'm a little scared of him. But at the same time, I'm drawn to him. When she heard the whistle and looked out the window, she saw Joe waiting for her at the gate. She ran into her mother's room, saw that she was asleep, and quietly left the house. Hey, listen, why don't we go outside my house for a walk? Hey, to be honest, my mom's not feeling well, so I can't leave her for too long. Okay, whatever you say. We could even just sit on your bench. Would you like that? Yeah, sure, that's better. Next time, ask someone else to show you around. What's wrong with you? I'm just saying that. I was born in this village and I know everything myself. That's good. What about your mom? Lily looked at Joe, not knowing whether she should tell him or not. What did she have to lose? It was better to tell the truth, to set the record straight, because sooner or later he'd find out when it happened to her mom. He wasn't in the village and he didn't know. 2 years ago, my father left us. My mom got sick and paralyzed. I take care of her, so I can't leave her alone for long. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had a sick mom. What did the doctor say? Is there any hope? I don't know. They don't say anything anymore. To be honest, my mom probably just doesn't want to live. That's why she's not recovering. She loved my dad a lot, and it was a big blow to her. When he told her he loved another woman, she couldn't take it anymore and broke down. Look, you gotta do something to make her happy. You gotta do something for her to give her that joy back. I've tried everything, but nothing works. But I'm not giving up hope. I think I can do it. Lily, so you've never dated anyone, have you? No, I haven't. Who would like a girl who can't go out with anyone? I even go to the disco for half an hour and then run home. Only near the house I can sit longer, because I'm always running and checking how she's doing. My friends often sit here with me, or we go to the garden and spend time there. In winter, they come to my house and we sit in my room. I see. Would you mind if I came to your room too? You can come, of course, but believe me, you'll soon get bored of it. But I think we can still be friends. I don't want to be friends. I want more than that, Joe thought. But out loud he said, sure, whatever you say. They talked for an hour. Then Lily said she had to go home, and they agreed that he would come to her house at the same time tomorrow. Joe walked home thinking that Lily was the brightest girl in the world. He enjoyed talking to her and realized that he really loved her. This had never happened to him before. Already approaching the house, he saw some kind of shadow. He sighed because the smell of perfume hit his nose, and he realized May was waiting for him. Why are you doing here? It's late, he asked her. It's not late. It's only 10 o'clock at night. Why don't we take a little walk? I need to talk to you. Okay, let's go out. Okay, so what are we gonna talk about? I think you're avoiding me, Joe. I'm sorry, May, of course I am. I just don't understand. Why are you asking me these questions? Did I ever promise you anything? When I left the army, you and I hadn't even met. And now I don't know what you want from me. But you used to like me. Remember when you asked me out? And then you stopped talking to me. Why don't you tell me what happened then? Are you sure you want to hear it? Of course I do. Because I love you. I want to be with you always. Don't you realize we're perfect for each other? May, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about? We're not perfect for each other. I'm not interested in you. You and I have different ways of looking at life. You don't live the way I do, and I don't like a lot of things about you. Don't you realize that beauty is not the most important thing in life? What is? Tony, maybe I'm a good person at heart, and you make a conclusion based on a shell. You don't know me at all, and you're not even trying to know me, but you've already made your conclusions. May, I don't need to get to know you. Just look at the other guys. They love you, so pick one that's worthy of you. I don't want anyone but you. You're the only one I want. We were made for each other. And what kind of beautiful children could we have? Have you thought about that? No, May, I haven't, and I'm not going to. So my advice to you is before it's too late, look at other guys and leave me alone. I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna work out between you and me. Never. He didn't realize a woman rejected by a man could do so much. She'd take revenge, and she'd do anything to make the man 100 times worse off than she was. Lily fed her mother from home and then sat down to sew a dress. It was for her mother. She really wanted to make her happy. Besides, it was going to be Mom's birthday soon. She glanced at the clock, realizing that Joe would be here soon. They had been dating for a month now. She felt really good with him. She could see that he loved her, and she was fond of him herself. She told her mom about him, but Mom was silent as usual, and Lily couldn't tell if she was listening or not. Joe walked toward Lily and thought about the fact that he didn't want to lose this girl and would probably propose to her. They should get married. He couldn't go on without her. He wanted them to always be there for each other. Tonight, he would propose to her. He realized that they would probably live at her house because he couldn't leave his sick mother behind, and it would be easier for her to study. She only had a little bit left, and then he would help her open an atelier. He saw that Lily was a very talented girl, so she would do well. He went to her wicket, as always, and whistled. She ran out to meet him, smiling affectionately as always. He always marveled at that. No matter what she had going on, she always smiled. Hello, my good man. Maybe we should take a little walk. How about it? You up for it? Come on. Mom's asleep right now, so you and I only have an hour to walk a short distance. Let's go to the river. It's quiet, and there's no one there. Let's go. They walked in silence, and Lily looked at Joe, waiting to see what he wanted to say to her. In her heart, of course, she was gladdened by the fear that he might leave her, to say that he was fed up with everything because they couldn't go anywhere like normal people and couldn't sit anywhere. She worried about it all the time, seeing how her friends, for example, go to the movies with guys, sit and talk freely in cafes. It was different for her. Joe, why don't you say something? Your silence is killing me. I'm sorry, honey. I'm just trying to find the right words, and I don't know how you're gonna react. You just say it. You don't have to choose anything. Just say it. That's all. Okay, let's get married. Okay. Lily was stunned, then looked at Joe and asked, Did you mean it just now? Is that really what you want? Yes, because I realize that I can't live without you and that you're my favorite girl, the one I'll never let go of. But you realize I'm not going anywhere from my mom. Yes. Would you agree to live with me? I don't care as long as I'm always with you. So you're okay with it? Lily nodded. Of course she did, because she couldn't live without Joe. Then I'll talk to my parents and tell them I'm getting married, and you and I will apply one of these days. How do you want to get married? No, Joe, I don't want to have any fun right now. No. Besides, Mom won't be at the wedding. You know I can't leave her for too long, don't you? Why don't we just get married quietly? That's all. Okay, honey, whatever you say. Mom knows about our relationship. She doesn't mind. She likes you a lot. I don't know if she told my dad or not, but I'm gonna talk to both of them tonight. Will you tell your mom? I think she'd be happy for you. Sometimes I feel like my mom doesn't know what I'm talking about. She doesn't talk. She doesn't talk all the time. The doctor said there's no such thing. But for so long, she hasn't said a word to me, even though I always tell her everything. Never mind, you're not alone now. There are two of us. It'll be easier for you. Then we'll scoop up the money and send your mom somewhere for treatment. See if she gets back on her feet, and then you and I will be fine. I've been thinking about it. If that's what it takes to make her well, I'd give anything to make her well. May sat in the store, working on her long nails with a wand. She was thinking about what she could do to get this Lily to give up on Joe. She had heard that they had applied and they were getting married soon. But as it turned out, they wouldn't be getting married because that moth didn't want to. She's silly. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Well, two at the most, and she's depriving herself of everything. What does he see in her? She's not even pretty. I am, but she's not even close to me. He asked her to marry him and he rejected me. Why are you so obsessed with him? Why are you so obsessed with him? Look at all the great guys out there. But no, you want him. What is it about him that makes you so attracted to him? You don't understand. He's very handsome. Then he's really smart. He'll make me feel like I'm behind a wall. You tell me, what can I do to make Lily change her mind about marrying him? What can I say to her to make her give up on him? I don't know. I just don't think you should touch her. Can you imagine what would happen to Joe if she told him? He'd hate you. You've got to think of something else to keep him from thinking about you. You were right, but we've got to act fast. You're right. Otherwise, they'll get married soon and I'll be left with nothing. By the way, when I found out they were getting married, I almost lost my mind. I wanted to go over there and rip all the hair out of her head. I couldn't help but realize that wasn't the answer. That's the right thing to do. You don't have to do that. Besides, don't you feel sorry for her? She's poor as it is. She's always looking after her mother. And then there's you and your jealousy. I don't think you should touch them. He won't come back to you, even if you separated them. That's what you need to remember. Let him be happy, but he won't be happy himself. It'll make me feel better. But watch out, of course, because there's a boomerang in life. It may come back when you least expect it. My advice to you, live on your own. Find yourself a guy who loves you, and then happiness will come to you. You've driven yourself into this. Hate, aggression, anger. Get out of it before it's too late. So, I see you should have gone to work as a psychologist. What are you doing here in the store? I don't know. Probably the same thing you're doing. Lily made herself a dress and thought she was the luckiest girl in the world. A wedding was coming up. Not as grand as Joe's parents wanted, though. They'd barely talked them out of taking a restaurant and inviting a bunch of guests. Of course, they argued with them a little, but then they gave in and said that they would make the evening anyway, because the relatives would be very offended when they found out that Joe got married and they were not invited. For that day, they decided to get a neighbor to watch Lily's mother so that she could sit quietly with the guests. The restaurant was already booked, and now at home, Sue had dressed for herself to be at this evening a beautiful bride. Joe was walking with his friends from work and talking about what awaited them all tomorrow at the party in honor of his and Lily's marriage. I wonder if you're the very first one of us to decide to get married, and to whom? Lily. We thought it would work out with you and May. It turned out to be the opposite. I told you I liked her on the first date, and I asked her out on the second date to see if I was wrong. Maybe she just wasn't in the mood then. You know how it is. But as it turned out, she's exactly the kind of person I don't like, and beauty has nothing to do with it. Hey, do you think she'd want to go out with me? I've been in love with her since high school, and I didn't want to get in your way because she always chose you. Now that I'm out of the way, I'm gonna try to go out with her. See if it works out. That's up to you, of course. Just be careful. May's not the type to give up. To be honest, I'm afraid she'll show up at the wedding and do something. You can expect anything from her. You didn't invite her? No, it's just an evening. My relatives will come, my friends, that's all. There's no one at the house but my mother, so it'll be quiet and modest. I see. Well, then I won't invite May to the wedding. Money opened her closet, not knowing what to wear today. Even though she wasn't invited to the wedding, she decided to go anyway, because she figured if she went, she wouldn't get kicked out of there, and she'd get to see the couple. Well, of course, she talked to Lily. She'd tell her everything. She's the one Joe loves. So what? Marriage doesn't mean anything. And soon he'll go back to her and she'll be dumped because he won't need her. So Joe, you should have chosen me. And by doing so, I'll ruin your life. You'll be begging me to come back to you. But I'm the one who'll think about whether I should go back to you or not. After the check-in, Lily and Joe went to a coffee shop. Kelly's friend was next to her and was slyly looking at Tony. She'd always liked him, but she could see that he was in love with Lily. But now she was married and the weight at his heart was clear. She knew Justin liked May, so she didn't consider him. In fact, she didn't like him as much as Tony. Do you think it could work out with him? Why not? Tony's a great guy. I just never liked him. I fell in love with Joe. You're a married lady now. Yeah, but don't rush into having kids, because remember the neighbor got married and had a kid, and now she's sorry, says she got caught up in the housework. I need to finish my studies, and then you know what, I want to open a hotel and make beautiful dresses for women. I think I can do it. Besides, Joe's got my back. He didn't want me to work at first, of course, but then we talked and he realized that if he put me at home, I'd be the most miserable woman on earth, and he doesn't want that. That's weird, Lily. A lot of women would give anything to have their husbands put away, and you, on the contrary, want to work. That's right. But you forget that such wives quickly bore their husbands, that then want a woman who earns money and does everything in her life herself. That's all. A woman at home begins to forget about herself, gets overgrown with household chores, and turns into something unattractive, and for a man becomes uninteresting. I see. Well, then we'll open an atelier together. I want to work with you. Good. I'm glad you've been with me since I was a kid. Look, why are you here? What are you doing here? Did you invite her? Lily looked to the side and saw May, who came into the restaurant and looked around. She met Lily's gaze, then puckered her lips and walked towards them. Well, hello, I just came by to congratulate you and tell you something. Remember, Joe loves me, not you. Sooner or later, he's gonna get sick of you and leave you. He'll be with me. I think you realize that. No, I don't, because I know how he feels about you. No, I don't, because I know how he feels about you. You may not know this, but Joe's a serious and smart guy. He wouldn't marry someone he didn't love, which is exactly what happened to you. So you better get out of here. If he sees you, he'll be very angry. On the contrary, he'll be happy to see me. No, he won't, Joe said, and put his arm around Lily, drawing her to him. What do you want? We talked about everything. I never liked you, and you and I are never going to be together. Well, we'll see about that. Don't be too happy at home. You'll see, he'll get bored of you and leave you. May went outside and walked towards the house. She didn't feel any better, although she thought that if she said it to Lily's face, she would feel better. She didn't hurt you too much? Joe asked. No, because I know that if you felt anything for her, you wouldn't be standing next to me right now, and you wouldn't have proposed to me. Lily graduated from high school and got a red diploma. By then, Joe had already found her a place to rent. They had saved up some money because even though Joe was making good money, she didn't want to sit on his neck at home. Besides, she had a sick mom on her hands. The money she earned, she spent on the house. She started saving her mom's pension for medical treatment, and Joe managed to still take overtime work and save money for her business. Kylie said she had saved a little too and would buy a sewing machine. Lily was happier than ever. Now she would be working for herself. Joe saw that his wife would succeed because she was a master of her craft. May looked at her friend, not understanding where she got such a beautiful dress. When they brought things to the store, she was always the first one to look at it and choose the best for herself. Where did you get such a beautiful dress? Tell me, where did you buy it? And why didn't you tell me? Lily and Kylie made it for me. Do you have any idea how much they make? They get so many orders. When I went to their studio, Lily showed me her sketches and she had a whole sketchbook and didn't even need a fashion magazine. So I picked out what I liked and they made it for me. I also ordered evening dresses for myself. So soon I'll be beautiful. Now I understand, but it's okay. I'll find something better and buy it, but I won't go there. No, of course not. Naturally, after what you said to her at the wedding, I don't think she'll talk to you at all. You don't even say hello to her when she comes into the store. Why should I say hello to her? Why should I say hello to her? She stole my man. She didn't take anybody away from you. Yeah, it was Joe's choice, and you're pissed he didn't choose you. He'll realize he did it wrong. I'm patient. I'll wait. Just don't wait too long, or you'll be useless. You must remember that youth doesn't last forever. Sam's looking after you, so you'd better take the bull by the horns and get him to the registry office, or he won't even be around. Hey, how about this idea? It'll bring me closer to Joe. They're friends. You're doing it again. It makes sense, though. I'll tell you one thing, though. Don't get carried away. Because if you get carried away, Sam will dump you in a heartbeat. He's not gonna fight with his best friend over you. And out of the two of you, he's gonna pick him. But we'll see about that. You'll see, I'll drive him so crazy he'll forget all about you and his friend. By the way, I understand there's another wedding coming up soon. It's that plain killy girl getting married. What do they all see in them? Everyone's getting married and you and I still aren't. It's not right. It's settled. I'm gonna date Sam, and he's gonna marry me too. You'll see, you'll never understand. What about Joe? He's still married too, so I'll get married for a while. Let him be jealous. He won't be jealous of you. Don't you realize that? He's crazy about his wife. He's ready to carry her in his arms. You better forget about them and make your own life. That's the right thing to do. Lily had been feeling really bad lately. She was throwing up all the time, and she wondered what she could have eaten to be so poisoned. Even Joe noticed that she hadn't been looking well lately and told her to stay home for a couple days. I'll probably do that. And let the neighbor rest. She's been sitting with my mom all day. She's tired too. It's no big deal. We pay her well for it. And soon we'll try to put your mom in the hospital. Let them examine her and then we'll decide what to do next. My father said that his friend took his wife to Germany and they helped her there. And now she walks and talks. Maybe your mothers can help. Listen, maybe you should go to the hospital too. You know, this kind of thing is no joke. You've lost a lot of weight. You've got black circles under your eyes. Okay, I'll go for sure. Okay. At the hospital, Lily was told there was nothing wrong with her. She just had the usual toxicosis that comes with pregnancy. She walked home wondering how Joe would react, because they weren't planning on having kids yet. What did the doctors tell you? The first thing Joe asked when he came home from work and washed his hands, sat down at the table. I'm fine, just the usual toxicosis. Common what? Toxicosis. She looked at her husband and saw that he was trying to understand what his wife had just told him. So I take it you're pregnant? You do, Lily said and smiled. Joe jumped up and grabbed Lily in an armful and started kissing her. I'm happy. You understand, I'm very happy. You and I are going to have a boy or a girl. What do you want more, a son or a daughter? I don't care. I don't care. The important thing is that we're having a baby. Lily looked at Kylie, who was standing in front of her in her wedding dress. Can you imagine Sam coming to the wedding and you know who he's with? That May, who you and I can't stand. Yeah, Joe told me he proposed to her and she said yes. Don't be mad at her because she's a very complicated person. And you know that when a woman realizes her man doesn't love her, she turns into a wildcat and is ready to claw anyone's face. I hope she'll calm down now and won't bother us anymore. I can't tell you anything about that. Sam, of course, is a pity because I think she doesn't love him and he doesn't even notice it because he's in love with her. And that's too bad. Do you think she's using him? I think so, but I don't know what she's using him for. I don't understand. The restaurant was noisy and fun. The Toastmaster was doing his best, and the wedding was in full swing. May saw Lily go to the bathroom and followed her. Hi, I think we should relax a little and realize we'll be seeing more of each other now. You know, Sam proposed to me, so let's not get pissed at each other, okay? I'm not sulking. You're the one who has a problem with me, not the other way around. Yeah, I get it. So I'm trying to make things right. By the way, you look really bad. You're not sick, are you? I was a little sick, smiled Lily, but in 9 months I'll be fine. What, are you pregnant? Yes, Joe and I are going to have a baby soon. May didn't know what to say. May didn't know what to say to that and just turned and walked out. She realized that if Lily had the baby, she'd lose Joe forever. and she couldn't let that happen. There was only one thought bouncing around in her head. What should she do now? What to do? She noticed that Lily had gotten out and was walking towards the hall. She had to go up the stairs before she could go out into the hall, and this was her chance. She didn't realize how it happened herself. She just followed her and grabbed her dress. There was a cracking sound of tearing fabric, and Lily lost her balance and rolled down the stairs. May looked at her, seeing that she was unconscious, and rushed into the hall to tell everyone that Lily had fallen down the stairs. Joe rushed downstairs, grabbed his wife in his arms, and shouted for an ambulance to be called. Luckily, the ambulance came quickly and she was taken away. Everyone started asking May how did it happen, and she said that Lily must have gotten sick. She didn't even realize it herself. And then she saw her on the floor, unconscious. I was going to the bathroom and I heard a scream, and I looked back and she was on the floor, so I ran after you. God, I wish it was all right. She's expecting a baby, and then this happened. May was happy. Now she knew for sure that nothing was likely to happen, and Joe would probably leave his wife and come to her, and she saw the way he looked at her, and there was love in that look. She'd seen that for sure. Joe sat in the emergency room waiting for the doctor to come out of the room where his wife had been taken. His heart was pounding with fear for his wife, but he forced himself to wait because he realized that now he could not help her. Soon the doctor came out and told him that Lily was fine. The only thing she had lost was the baby. Can I see her? Not for long, because she needs to rest. If she's okay tomorrow, you can take her in. She's not seriously injured, except mentally, of course. Why didn't you accompany her? Even though you knew she was pregnant. You have to realize that when a woman is pregnant, you have to be there for her, because she can get dizzy and faint. I'm sorry, doctor. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I realized I wasn't paying attention. I hate myself for it. Courage. I think you're gonna have kids, so in the future, keep an eye on your wife. Joe went into the room and looked at his wife, who was lying on the bed crying quietly. His heart became very sore. He sat down beside her and took her hand in his. Lily, how are you, sweetheart? Believe me, everything will be all right. Just don't get too upset. I understand, but just hang in there, because if you get depressed with me, I'm screwed. I can't see you like this. You know that. Lily nodded. She understood everything, just she couldn't remember what had happened to her and why she had fallen, although she felt very well. Who found me? Who said I fell? May, she found you. That can't be. She pulled me. She grabbed me by my dress, and then I lost my balance, you know? Do you remember that exactly? Did you see her do it? No, but I felt like I was being pulled down. No. We can't prove anything. Maybe you imagined the whole thing. I don't think she's capable of it. Besides, she's dating Sam and they're serious. I know, she told me all about it today. I know. You're right, we can't blame her. I probably just lost my balance and felt like I was being pulled down. You should probably rest now. Get some sleep. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere. And tomorrow you and I will go home. Okay. I've already warned the neighbor. It's not me, it's Sam. They need to tell me what happened. Okay, you should probably go home. What are you gonna do here with me? I mean, you should get some rest. You'll come back tomorrow. I'll be waiting for you. Joe started to resist, but Lily persuaded him. When he left, she began to cry again, realizing that she had to do it now. Because if her husband was going to see her crying, she would be the one who would have to bring her husband out of his depression, not the other way around. It had been 5 years. During that time, Lily's mom died. They never got to send her to Germany as they had planned because the doctors said she couldn't stand the flight. Joe was very worried about his wife because he realized she was having a hard time mentally. After she had an accident and fell down the stairs, no matter how hard they tried, she couldn't get pregnant again. The doctor said she was doing fine. It's just that she's probably mentally stressed after what happened, and now she's just afraid that it could happen to her again. When you get that fear out of your head, that's when you'll be fine. Lily didn't believe the doctors because she realized it wasn't about fear, and there was something really wrong with her. Then her mother died, and it took her a long time to get over it, although she understood perfectly well that her mother was just suffering because it was impossible to call it life. She began to work more to avoid thinking about her problems, thus driving herself further and further away. Joe could see that there was something wrong with his wife, and yet she always smiled her beautiful, affectionate smile at him and told him she was doing fine. Kelly didn't go to work anymore because she was expecting a baby, and now she worked by herself at home. She was glad of this solitude because the silence and sewing calmed her and she found peace. I don't know what to do. I can see she's not well, though she's doing her best not to show it. Shouldn't you go somewhere else? Get some rest? You don't even go anywhere. It's all the same. Work and home. No more fun. I think a change of scenery would be good for Lily. Michaela's starting to freak out, and I'm realizing I need to pay attention to her, and we should take her on a trip. There you go. Here's an idea. I mean, we're really home with her all the time. She's a mom, afraid to leave her alone for too long. But now I think it'll work out. I'll talk to her tonight. Joe came home from work in the evening and saw Lily standing by the stove with the kettle, but she was thinking about something. He realized that he urgently needs to take his spouse somewhere because she will go so crazy. He went over to her, hugged her and said, "So tomorrow I'm taking a vacation and you and I are going to the sea. No refusals. Believe me, you and I just need a vacation." "Okay, Joe, whatever you say. I won't be taking any orders for a while. I'll make it fast, okay? It'll be embarrassing if I leave and I don't get the order back." "That's fine. Then I'll get the tickets and you and I will go on vacation." Lily didn't want to go anywhere. She was used to living like this, and so she was frightened by the fact that she would have to leave home and go somewhere else to live and so on. But she felt sorry for Joe, and she could see that he more than anyone else needed a vacation from everything, even from her. Of course, she wanted to suggest to him that he should go himself, but she knew he would refuse, and so she kept silent. The sea was good. At home, she watched her husband swimming and thought that they had done the right thing to come here. Lately, however, she began to feel bad again. She felt bad when she went into the bathroom this morning and saw that her nose was bleeding. It had never happened before, though. She thought it was probably from jet lag and fatigue. Then she started to get a headache, but she didn't pay attention to it, thinking it would go away soon. But the headache wouldn't go away and she had to complain to Joe. He went and bought her some medicine. She thought it was probably the change of climate. That's how it affected her, and she didn't pay attention to it. She now just started buying painkillers, and with them the headaches became more bearable. When they got back from the sea, Lily got to work. She thought that when they got back to their home village, the headache would go away and she would feel good again. But the pain wasn't going anywhere. Her head ached very badly, and she thought of going to the hospital to find out the cause of the pain. But she put that off too, because she was swamped with orders. And she was working day and night. Joe started cursing at her and telling her to get someone to help her because he had stopped seeing his wife at all, as she was always at work. Lily remained silent, realizing that her husband was right. She smiled at him and was about to tell him that she would, but she didn't have time. She felt like the lights in her head had just been turned off. It had gone dark. Joe saw his wife turn pale and rushed over to pick her up. She had lost consciousness. He carried her to the bed and then called an ambulance when the doctor arrived and brought her to her senses. It took Lily a long time to realize what was happening and where she was. The doctor examined her, and then, when he had given her a sedative injection and she had fallen asleep, called Joe outside and said, "And do you often have this happen to your wife?" "First time. She's been complaining of headaches lately though, and recently I noticed her nose was bleeding. She hides it from me, but she didn't have time. I told her she needed to go to the hospital right away. She told me it was her blood pressure and it was nothing. Your spouse needs to get checked out right away. Your spouse needs to get checked out. So you don't put it off. You just take her in your arms and go. Because I know these women, she can promise and never go." "Okay, I'll take her to the doctor tomorrow." Lily didn't want to go. She said she had a lot of work to do, and she'd lose half the day and wouldn't have time for anything. But Joe was inexorable, and like a little girl, he took his wife by the hand and led her to the doctors. What the doctors told them afterwards was a blow to them. Lily had cancer. Apparently, when she fell down the stairs then, she had hit her head hard. The hematoma had been small and the doctors hadn't paid any attention to it. Now there was a tumor that needed to be removed immediately. May, did you hear what's going on at Joe's house? What's going on? I think it's fine. I mean, they just got back from vacation. I've been asking my Sam to take me out, but he won't go anywhere, and he won't let me go. Bastard, I'm sick of him. Lily is very sick. The doctors say she has cancer. That fall down the stairs didn't do her any good. Not only did she lose her baby, but now this. I feel sorry for her. She's a good woman, and she didn't deserve this. May turned pale. She still loved Joe, of course, but she realized what she had done. Now, if anything happened, it would be her fault. It was already her fault because she'd done it without thinking. What came over her then? Why did she think that if Lily lost the baby, Joe would leave her? It turned out to be exactly the opposite. He got even more attached to her because he loved her. She married Sam, but she wasn't happy because she didn't love him at all. When she went to bed with him, she closed her eyes and imagined Joe next to her. She didn't think about Sam, who began to realize that his wife had no feelings for him. This had made him very jealous, and now May was bitterly regretting that she had married at all. Yes, I feel sorry for her, but I guess that's her fate. I can't help it. Joe was devastated by the news. He hadn't slept much, thinking about how he could save Lily. She was as if she was not afraid of anything, calmly taking all the tests and preparing for the operation. She told her husband that everything would be fine, and if she was destined to die, then so be it. And if not, she and he would live a long life and everything would be fine. The surgery was a success, but Lily was not getting any better. First of all, she started having severe headaches again. Then her eyesight disappeared, and now she had to stay at home. And Joe again had to ask the neighbor who looked after Lily's mother to look after his wife. He had to work and save the woman he loved because he realized that if anything happened to her, he couldn't live without her. Lily felt very sorry for her spouse. She realized what a burden she had become, but there was nothing she could do. Sometimes she heard him crying when he thought she was asleep. But she didn't tell him that she hardly slept now. Something in her body was changing, and she probably didn't have long to live. She didn't know what to do or who to turn to until a neighbor told her about Grandma Sarah, who healed people with her creatures. I've heard of her, but we didn't go to her even when my mom got sick because I don't believe in all that stuff. You shouldn't. She saved a lot of people. I went to her myself sometimes. For example, when my husband began to drink, as soon as she cured him of this drunkenness. And many people say good things about her. She lives with her daughter, who is so unscrupulous, does not work anywhere, sits on her neck, and even walks on the terrible. It's interesting, she helps people, but she can't help herself. It's always like that. Let me call her. Let's talk to her. Maybe she can help you. At least get your eyesight back. It won't make you worse. And if it gets better, it's a miracle. That's true. Then have her come tomorrow. Can you negotiate with her? Sure, but your husband will be home from work. I'll go straight to her. I'll talk to her. She's a very reliable woman. If you need help, she's happy to help, and she doesn't charge anything for it. She thinks that if people see fit to give her something, it's good, and if they don't, then it's not necessary. After this conversation, Lily felt better. There was hope in her soul at least that she would be able to see again. After all, then she wouldn't be so helpless. True, she could sometimes get up on her own because she remembered what and how her house was arranged, but that didn't change anything, and she couldn't do anything. Baba Sarah was a very kind and good woman. True, she was not lucky in life. When she was young, she dated a guy whom she loved very much, but he married someone else and they moved to another village. She never fell in love with anyone else. When she was already 45 years old, she realized that she needed to give birth at least for herself. So she did. Mary grew up a good girl, but then it was like she was possessed. She started hanging out with bad companies, drinking, smoking, and leading a wild lifestyle. She did not study and just sat on her mother's neck, who was already old and did not say anything to her. Seeing that all this was useless, the only thing I don't understand is what you'll do when I'm dead. You're incapable of doing anything. How will you live? It's none of your business. I'm not a little girl. I can live without you. The next day, Grandma Sarah came as promised. She looked at her and immediately said, "There's not much hope, but I think we'll get your eyesight back. I'll bring you some herbs and teach you how to brew them properly. But you have to drink them every day, okay? Yes, Grandma, I'll do as you say. But you'll have to tell your aunt, because she's watching me now. My husband's at work and she's looking after me. I know. I'll tell her to give you a drink every day. Just remember to drink them all the time. Even when you get your sight back, you understand. When you run out of weed, you come to me and I'll give it to you again. Thank you very much. What do I owe you? Nothing. Besides, I haven't done anything for you yet. But if there's a result, you can see for yourself if you want to thank me. And if not, you don't have to. Lily did not say anything to her husband because she thought that if it does not help, then he will not know about anything. It would only make him more upset. And he was having a hard enough time as it was. Joe went into the store to get some bread and said hello to May, who came up to him, put her hand on his shoulder and said, "Here, Joe, what a misfortune you've had. I sympathize. I think your wife will be all right." "I hope so, too. That will be all right. Why didn't Sam come to work today? Drunk or something?" "Probably because we're getting a divorce." "I don't know. He's drinking out of grief." "Why is that?" "Because he's a very good man, and he loves you very much." "Why are you leaving him?" "He's torturing me with his jealousy. He won't let me go anywhere. He won't let me go anywhere. And I'm tired. Sometimes I need freedom from him. So I told him I'd leave him if he keeps being so jealous of me. He said he'd be all right, but nothing changed. And I've been tormented and I can't live like this anymore." "I see. You shouldn't say that though. He's a good man." May wanted to say who was a good man to her, but she didn't because she remembered that Joe and her husband were friends and that it was better not to give out that kind of information. For a month now, Lily had been drinking the herbs Grandma Sarah had brought her. Her sleep had returned and her headache had lessened. She did not say anything to her husband, afraid that it was all in her head and that tomorrow everything would start again. So today she woke up, opened her eyes and smiled at the sun shining brightly through her window. She can see. She almost squealed with joy, but she realized she couldn't do that because she would scare her husband. Today was Sunday. Her aunt was resting and her husband was making them breakfast. She got up quietly, got dressed and went to the kitchen with the words, "Why do we smell so good? Honey, what are you cooking for us?" "Don't tell me, I'll tell you." Joe turned to her and opened his mouth to say good morning, but froze. Lily was looking at him and smiling, and he realized that her sight had returned to her. He threw the knife on the table and grabbed his wife in his arms, saying how happy he was and how much he loved her. "I didn't want to tell you, but my grandmother came to see me a month ago. She brought me different herbs and taught me how to brew and drink them properly. And there you go, I feel better. I'll have to go to her today and thank her because she saved me." "Of course we will, my dear. Whatever you want, we'll do it. Because I'm the luckiest man in the world." May was furious. Joe's wife was on the mend again, and what she recently thought was how badly she'd done to this woman. Now she wished she had done worse to her. She left Sam and went back to her parents. They were already old, and she was really annoyed with them. She realized that she was alone and that her love for Joe had not gone away. It seemed to her that Lily would die sooner or later and then they would be together. But that wasn't the case. She pulled through, and he's happy and with May again and hardly ever talks to her. He just says hello to her and doesn't even ask how she's doing. "Joe, don't you want to know how I'm doing? We've known each other for a long time and you're not even talking to me. Not strangers, but I can't forgive you for what you did to Sam. He's such a good man. Why did you get married if you didn't love him at all? You don't understand me. Neither does he. He's just weak and couldn't handle a woman like me. That's all. He's done everything for you, and you're so mean to him. You can't do that. You're not going to tell me how to live my life. I'll manage on my own. I'm not a little girl." Joe and Lily lived 7 more happy years. She drank the potion, as Grandma Sarah had instructed her, but it didn't help her anymore. The pain came back to her. True, her eyesight remained, and she was very glad of that. She still took the potion and ate handfuls of pain pills, which also stopped helping her. She didn't complain to her husband, just endured the pain. She realized that this was probably the end, and nothing could help her now. During the night, she felt sick. The pain was so unbearable that she started screaming. So Joe called an ambulance. They took her to the hospital, and in the morning, Lily was dead. Joe was in a dream. He walked around the house, going through her things and realizing that she was no longer with him and never would be. But she came to him in his dreams every day and they talked. He realized that he was probably going crazy with grief, but he was always glad when he went to bed because he realized that only in his dreams would he see her and be happy again. As time passed, the pain dulled and Joe began to socialize with people again, going to work and sometimes visiting his friends. Lately, May started coming to this house and they talked, reminiscing about Lily's school and youth. He didn't drive her away. He saw that she was different, changed, older and smarter. May saw that Joe had changed towards her and realized that she had chosen the right tactics and that he would probably mature soon and they would live together. But time passed. She still came to him the same way. He didn't chase her away, but he didn't offer her anything either. It began to make her angry. After all, she is far from being a girl, and at her age, all women, certain with children, and only she still cannot establish her personal life. Lately, he'd been dreaming about Lily, but for some reason she was very sad. It was as if she was trying to tell him something, but did not dare. When he woke up, he decided to visit her grave and on the way to collect for her her favorite wildflowers. "Hello, Lily. You're something I'm sad and lately you do not even smile. I feel bad without your smile. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. Are you unhappy with me? Don't be silent. Tell me. Don't be afraid. It's only in my dreams that I'm truly happy, especially when you talk to me." He sat for a while longer, then packed up and went home. He recently bought a car and was moonlighting as a cab driver, realizing that then he wouldn't have to sit in an empty house or talk to May, who'd been boring him a lot lately. Now every evening after work, he went to the station, met newcomers, and drove them around the village. He took a little money, and sometimes he didn't take any at all, realizing that it was a hobby now, so he wouldn't feel lonely. May realized that Joe was indifferent to her, and even when he was alone, he paid no attention to her. She tried for a week to catch him at home to have a serious talk, but he was gone. She knew he bought a car, and she was worried he'd gotten a boyfriend. If he had, she would do anything to destroy it, because she wouldn't give him to anyone now. That night, Joe dreamed of Lily again, pointing his hand somewhere and telling him what he should do. He couldn't hear her and kept trying to tell her to speak louder. Then he just looked where she was pointing him and saw a little girl crying. He looked at his wife again, trying to figure out what she was trying to say, but she was gone. He couldn't get the dream out of his head. He couldn't figure out what she was trying to say. That evening, Joe arrived at the train station as usual and went in to look at the schedule. When the bus would arrive, he was distracted by a noise. The kiosk clerk grabbed the dirty little girl by the ear and yelled at her that she was a thief. He walked up to the woman and said, "Why are you doing? Can't you see the child is in pain? Can't you do that? You can. Let her not steal. She stole a pie from my window and ate it. She doesn't want to pay, so I don't have any money." The little girl whimpered, tears streaming down her dirty face. Joe pulled out his wallet and paid the saleswoman. The woman snorted at the girl, let go and walked away. He bent down to the girl and asked, "Where are your parents? Why are you here alone?" "Because I have no one. My grandmother died, and I was thrown out of the house. There are strangers living there now, so I took the bus and came here." "I see. Why don't you come to my place? I live alone. At least I'll feed you. I'll wash you." "Grandpa, aren't you going to fight?" "What are you talking about?" "Of course I won't. What's your name?" "Lily." "What a beautiful name you have. It was my wife's name, whom I love very much." "Where is she now?" "She died. She was very sick. And now I live alone. And if you stay with me, we'll live together." "Okay, Grandpa, I'll go with you. I'm very hungry and sleepy. It's very cold to sleep here. Besides, the watchman is kicking me out. He tells me to go home to sleep, so I have to sleep outside. The poor child sleeping outside. It's unbelievable." Lily slept sweetly, and Joe looked at her, remembering a dream he'd had recently. How Lily had pointed at the girl and said something to him. She probably meant to tell him to take her in, because she certainly wouldn't have said anything else. The rumor that Joe had a baby in the house spread quickly through the village. Everyone laughed at him, saying, why did he bring a live baby, or did he want trouble in his old age? What's it to you? I feel like I brought her into your house. She's living with me because she's got nowhere else to live. You had a homeless kid on the street, but you didn't even pay attention to her. And now it's like I'm asking you for money to support her. The conversation stopped. The next day in the evening, May came to him and began to resent him, saying that he had done wrong and that the girl should be taken to the police and let them figure out what to do with her. Why are you so worried? What's wrong with her? You're bossing me around like you're my wife. No need, go home and boss her around. Lily and I are doing just fine. Lily? She's what's your wife's name? You're crazy to bring home someone else's kid in your old age because she's called your favorite wife. After May left, Lily left the room, walked over to Joe and said, she is a very bad woman. She's done a lot of bad things. How do you even put up with her? Are you two friends? We used to go to school together. We've known each other a long time. We're friends. That's why she raised her voice at me. Well, don't pay attention to anyone. Do you understand? I understand, Grandpa. But she won't calm down and she'll get me taken away from you. I don't want to. Don't worry. I've been to the police. I have a very good friend who works there. He'll come over tonight and you'll tell him everything honestly. What village did you live in? Where and why were you kicked out? We need to get your papers done. Summer will pass and you'll have to go to school. Grandpa, won't you put me in an orphanage? I'll do everything I can to keep you with me. Besides, if that's what you want. I really want, Grandpa. You're so nice. I like living here. Tonight I dreamed about a woman. She stroked my head and told me everything would be all right. I believe her. And I saw a picture of your wife and realized I dreamed about her. Lily was a very nice woman. You would have gotten along with her. Well, all right. Now go wash up. Don't worry, we'll take care of everything. When Harry, Joe's classmate and also a very good friend of his, who had felt very badly for him when Lily died, came to see them because he knew how much Joe had loved her. He found out everything he wanted to know from the girl and promised to make inquiries and help with the papers. Joe, but you realize it's going to be very difficult for you to keep the baby. But I'll do whatever I can to help you. I can see the girls are doing very well, and it's not so lonely. That's true. I have a sense of purpose in my life. Besides, she's a very kind and sweet child. She knows what's where in the house. She even made us breakfast this morning. I didn't expect that. May couldn't bear to have that girl living in Joe's house. She was in the way because she didn't plan on having kids. In fact, she didn't want to have any because she hated them. She was fine with everything, thinking that Joe would soon get tired of being alone and they'd get together. But now there was this baby and she didn't know what to do with her. She decided to take tomorrow off from work and run over to their house to talk to the girl, alone, to scare her into wanting to leave. And then everything would fall back into place and she would get her way. Joe called Harry at work and told him to come over because they needed to talk. Look, the girl wasn't lying. It's all true. There really are people living in the house where she lived with her grandmother, but no one knows where the girl went. When I told them where she was, they said they weren't interested, but they found her birth certificate and gave it to the police. They'll send it here soon. How did they end up living there? It's Lily's inheritance. They said the grandmother gave the house to them for debts. They waited until she died and moved in. I think they have the deeds. At least that's what they told me. Well, I see. It's probably not true, and the papers are fake, but I can't prove anything now. The main thing is that they don't take my baby away from me, and the rest is nothing. May went into the house and saw the house mopping the kitchen floor. Hi, have you got a minute? I need to talk to you. What do you want to talk to me about? What do you want to talk to me about? You're probably going to tell me that I'm not wanted here and that sooner or later my grandfather will send me to an orphanage. I really don't call him grandfather. I don't. He's nobody to you, and you're a stranger to him. So it's better if you get out and leave him alone. Why are you trying so hard for? Because he doesn't love you and you'll never be together. That's none of your business. Remember, I'll do anything to get rid of you. Do you understand me? Lily shrugged her shoulders and started scrubbing the floors. She couldn't understand what this woman was trying to accomplish, because she would still be alone. After all, you don't marry evil witches like that. Joe came home and saw that the house was very clean, and Lily standing by the stove frying potatoes for him. "Where did you learn all this stuff? You're so young." My grandmother's grandfather was old, so she couldn't do a lot of things, and in recent years she was very ill, so I had to learn everything on my own. "Good for you. Then I'm going to wash my hands, and then we'll have dinner together. By the way, the woman who was here the other day came to see Grandpa. She told me to go to the orphanage because I'm a stranger to you, but I told her you're my grandfather, and that I'm not going anywhere from you." "That's right. Don't listen to anyone, May. I'll do the talking, and she'll never come here again." Joe, as promised, went to May's store after work to have a serious talk with her. "May, I'm begging you. Please don't get involved with us anymore. Lily stays with me, and I'm not giving her up to anybody. Do you understand me?" "No, I don't. And you should pay attention to me. We could have been happy together. I still love you. Can't you see that?" "May, when you finally realize that your love is not enough, because I don't love you and I never loved you, nothing has changed. And when I did, I don't even want to look at women anymore, because there is no one like her and there never will be. And you better reconsider your behavior and live a normal life at last, because with this behavior, you'll be alone, and when you realize what you've done, it'll be too late. So, I need you. I always wanted to marry you and no one else. Can't you see you're the only man for me? Is that so hard for you to understand?" "It's not. The only thing you don't realize is that I don't need you. Think about it. I'm telling you one more time. And don't come to us again, because we don't need you." Joe left, and May looked at him and thought that she'd wait for her. If Joe didn't need her, she'd do anything to make it hard for him. "I got rid of your wife. I'll get rid of this girl too. You'll be miserable. I'll be there for you. And if you marry her after that, I'll destroy you too. You can be sure I'm capable of anything, and you'll regret pushing me away." Joe thought about how sometimes women could be as kind and loving as his wife Lily, or poisonous ones who don't know what they want, so they ruin everything they touch. He still remembered Sam, how bad he felt when May had left him. He had truly loved her. She didn't, as it turned out, and she just married him to piss me off, as it turned out. Sam told him all about it when they were drinking together. "You see, she never loved me. She just wanted to annoy you. You know, to be honest, I never understood her logic, because you were married to Lily by then, and you were doing so well. I remember that when she told me that, I was offended at first, and then I realized it wasn't you. It was just my love for her that made me misty-eyed, and I couldn't see anything. Nothing. Sam, you'll meet another woman, a good, kind woman, and you'll be fine. May just doesn't love anybody but herself, and I told you that. But you loved her too much to listen to anybody." Fall came. Joe got his papers together and put Lily through school. He was having a hard time. The child was going to be taken away to an orphanage, and he and Harry didn't know what to do. "You realize someone's writing on you. I can see that. You get a reference from work, and I'll help you get custody of the kid. I got some connections here, and that's the only way you'll be able to keep Lily, at least for now. The girl's happy, you can tell. You just had a visit from child services. They told me afterwards that it's scary to take her away from you. She treats you like her own grandfather. I can't imagine life without her. After Lily died, she brought me back to life. And you know, before I met her, I had a dream about my wife pointing at her, like she was telling me I had to save her. That's it. I never told anyone about it. I realize now that it was Lily who saved me from loneliness, and I'm so grateful. Yes, Lily was a wonderful woman, hardworking, loving. It's a shame what happened to her at the wedding. She didn't say anything to you about the incident, by the way, 'cause I don't believe she fell. Maybe someone pushed her. I asked her then, and she said it was like someone pulled her dress and she lost her balance. I asked her if she'd seen anyone, but she said she hadn't. Here, and I think she was helped down. Well, let's not talk about that now. It's a pity you didn't tell me she told you that. Maybe we could have punished the guilty party. And now it's over. It's been years. Lily would come home from school, do her homework, and then cook dinner to meet her grandfather from work. She loved him very much. She actually felt like he was her own grandfather because she could see that he loved her very much. When she made the soup, she realized that there was no bread in the house. She took out the box where her grandfather had purposely left money, took some to buy bread and milk. She didn't like going to the store very much because that nasty Aunt May worked there, who always looked at her with such hatred that she sometimes even got scared. But she didn't tell her grandfather anything because he had so many problems already. She took a carton of milk and 2 loaves of bread, went to the cash register and handed the money to Aunt May, who took it from her. Then smiling, she asked, "Hello, Lily. How are you doing at school? Is everything all right?" Lily looked around and said, "I know, my dear, they're happy to have you now too. They apologized for being against you living with me and said they'd do their best not to take you away from me. You know, you're probably gonna stay with me, so we're gonna be okay. I'm so glad, Grandpa, because I'd die if they took me away from you. Now let's not think about bad things. It's a holiday with you and me, or rather you." They sat down at the table and drank tea. Soon came the aunt, who praised the cake, saying that it turned out even better than hers. She asked what she had put in it to make it so good. "Nothing special. I just put a little cinnamon in the cream. That's what made it a little different." They talked about this and that and the other baked goods. When Aunt May came over, she gave her neighbor a disapproving look, realizing they were more pleased with the neighbor than she was, but tried not to show it and smiled happily and wished Joe a happy birthday. Lily set another cup down and poured tea. May tasted the cake with a wrinkle. She didn't like it and pushed the plate away. She said, "You've wasted your groceries. You should have gone to the store and bought a delicious cake for your grandfather." Lily was confused and looked at her grandfather. "May, you come to us on purpose to ruin the mood. If you don't like the cake, don't eat it. No one is forcing you. But do not dare to offend my granddaughter, because then I will stop communicating with you and become your enemy." "No, you misunderstand me. No, you misunderstand me. I'm just allergic to cinnamon. That's why I'm having this reaction. But the cake is probably delicious, and it looks delicious." Lily didn't say anything. She just got up from the table and said she had homework to do. Went to her room. She couldn't understand why she had such disgust mixed with fear for this woman. Soon the neighbor left, and May and Joe were alone. "Listen, Joe, I want to talk to you. The girl needs a woman in the house. She needs nurturing, and you're just spoiling her. You can't do that. Why don't I come over? I'll teach her sometimes so she can do her own chores. You can't teach her much." "You're too late, May. She already knows how to do everything. She lived with her grandmother, who was very old by then, and she had to do everything herself. You know how children grow up fast when they're born into families like that." "Did you ask her where her parents were? Why was she raised by her grandmother?" "They were killed in a car wreck, so she lived with her grandmother." "How did she end up here?" "She took a bus and came here. She didn't want to stay in that village. She did the right thing. Now she's happy with me and I'm happy with her. I was very unhappy alone. Sometimes I even began to think that my longing for him would soon drive me to my grave. And I was happy about it. But then she came along and my life started to color again. So we don't need your help. We're doing this on our own." "You know, I know what you're talking about because my life is empty and lonely. So I thought I'd come to you guys once in a while because I'm so lonely right now." It's not a bad idea because Lily's having trouble with math, and I think you can explain it to her a lot better. Because like I said, she doesn't understand. And the couple times the neighbor explained it to her, she got it. How about it? Will you give it a try? Of course, I'd love to tutor her. Yeah, maybe then she won't resent me, and I'll feel needed because loneliness has been destroying me lately. You're right, loneliness is dangerous. You're right, okay. From tomorrow, we'll be waiting for you then and we'll be happy if you do great from home. When May left, Joe walked to Lily's room and said that May had offered to do math with her and that he had agreed. "Okay, Grandpa, since you think it's the right thing to do, I'll do math with her, only I don't believe her. She wants something else." "What's that?" "To live with you. Don't you see?" "I know, granddaughter, I know. She's wanted it before, but I never liked her, and then I fell in love with Lily, so I asked her to marry me." May was glad her plan had succeeded and that Joe had let her study with the girl. Now she would be there for them and would do anything to make her love her and talk Joe into letting her live with them. Such a thing had just recently occurred to her, though she realized it would be very difficult for her at first, but she'd do whatever it took to give her way. Then she'd think of something and send Lily to the orphanage. The next day, May arrived at Joe's house and went straight to Lily's room. The girl had already done her homework, but she had left math for last, realizing that she couldn't do it without help. May began to explain the problem to her. Seeing that we didn't understand her, she wanted to curse, to tell her what a stupid child she was. But by sheer force of will, she stopped herself and went on to explain. Now I hope you understand me. No, Aunt May, I'd rather have my neighbor teach me. No, she's better at explaining things to me. What you're saying to me doesn't get through to me. But, Lily, this is just our first class. And naturally, it's hard for you to understand me. Let's not jump to conclusions. You'll get used to me and then everything will become very accessible to you. No, I don't want you to study with me. No, I don't want you to study with me. I'll take the textbook and go to my neighbor's house and she'll explain to me how to solve this problem. Joe drove up to the house, put the car in the garage, and quietly went inside. He saw May's shoes and realized that they were probably studying and he wouldn't disturb them. He wanted to go to his room and watch TV, but he heard them talking about something and decided to listen. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't go anywhere. I'll explain it to you again. I already told you that I don't want to study with you because you disgust me. How dare you say that to me? May's patience was breaking, and she realized that now while Joe wasn't home and she would put this little shit in her place. You don't even know who you're dealing with. I'm gonna get what I want, and you're not living here. I got what I wanted once. I destroyed Joe's wife. I couldn't stand her, and I always hated to see Joe go crazy about her. And she wasn't even pretty. Eyes like a cow and no brains at all. She was expecting a baby and she was walking down the stairs and I grabbed her dress and she fell. Joe froze in the doorway, realizing that Lily had been right when she told him that someone had pulled her dress. May, on the other hand, went on to tell him, I did the right thing and I don't regret it one bit. And you're just a girl I can handle easily. I won't let you live in this house unless I can get you into an orphanage. Then I'll destroy you in another way. But Joe will eventually pay attention to me and live with me. Grandpa will never be with you. How have you not realized this in all these years? If he didn't choose you and married someone else, then he doesn't need you. How can't you understand elementary things? Grandpa is a kind and good man, and he will never be with someone like you. It's just that someone is always in his way. First his wife and now you. But you're not a problem for me, and you were easily gotten rid of. I'll write to the guardianship office. Tell them what a difficult child you are and what they can't do with you. Trust me, they won't look into it. They'll just come and take you away. But that's not gonna accomplish anything. Besides, I'll tell him all about you. And believe me, he'll hate you for it. Do you realize that? What are you gonna tell him? I'll tell him you made the whole thing up to get rid of me. I'll also tell him you're mentally ill. And who do you think he'll believe? You or me? And I'll believe my granddaughter. I'm not gonna let you ruin my life, May, and get the hell out of here. I heard everything, and I realized that when I asked Lily, she knew you did it, but she had no proof. And I'm a fool. I didn't believe her then that it was you. Is there nothing sacred about you? You must be out of your mind. You do terrible things, and you don't regret it. So I want to be happy, with you, not with someone else. And I believe that happiness can be obtained in any way. But you're forgetting one thing. To be happy, you have to do a lot of good to people, or at least do no evil. You do the opposite. And now I'm gonna tell you to get out of my house so I never see you again. Better yet, quit your job and get out of here for good. Because I'm going to go to the police and tell them all about you. I'm not gonna let it go. You ruined my wife. And I wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't for my granddaughter. She's not your granddaughter. Don't you realize that? She's someone else's child. Why is it always like this? Why do you love everyone but me? I've been loving you all my life and trying to get you, but nothing happens. You don't even look at me as a woman. What's the reason? Because I just don't like you and I never have. I've always told you that, but you never listened to me. Now I'm asking you one last time to leave, or I won't be responsible for myself. After May left, Joe took his granddaughter and they went to Harry's house and told him everything for the case. Well, as a matter of fact, I guessed it wasn't like that, and Lily couldn't have fallen down the stairs by herself then. I had my doubts, of course, because she was in a state and could have been dizzy. But I could see how she felt then. She was fine. Harry, what do we do now? You can't leave it like this. I understand, but we don't have any proof. It's just words. But you realize we're not going to get very far on them. Besides, it's been years, but we can't leave it like this. May needs treatment. Don't you think there's something wrong with her mentally? She's doing things that are scary, and she could do some damage. Look how she scared her. She still has fear in her eyes. No, Uncle Harry, don't worry about me. No, it was my grandfather I was so frightened for, because I realized he heard that if it hadn't been for that Aunt May, his wife would probably still be alive. I'm glad he has you now. He wouldn't have been able to handle all this on his own. I think sooner or later May would have come forward anyway. As far as I can see, she just couldn't hold it in any longer, so she did. May came home, not knowing what to do now. She realized it was the end. After what Joe had heard, he didn't need her. She had only one option left, to pack her bags and leave. But where to? After all, she was already very old. She wouldn't be hired for a job, because young girls were needed everywhere, not girls like her. She wanted to work until she retired. Living with Joe was her dream, but it was the same as always, and it all came crashing down. That little Lily, her face pissed her off, and she couldn't help herself. She told everything she'd kept secret and tried to forget. She knew it was that fatal fall down the stairs that had killed Lily, who wanted so much to live, because she loved Joe too and saw that he loved her. How could she not realize that he would never love her, whether his wife was by his side or not? She had placed herself on that love, and now she had lost absolutely everything. Yes, she has no choice but to leave, because there will be no life for her here now. Joe was walking with Lily to the cemetery, and they were picking a bouquet for his wife on the way. He was telling her how they lived, and she said she had the most beautiful grandmother in the world. You know, Grandpa, I'm so glad I have you, and I'd do anything to be like Grandma Lily. Even though I never met her, I know she was the most beautiful person in the world. Yes, granddaughter, I know you can do it, and trust me, Grandma Lily looks down at us and is happy that we have such a smart and beautiful little girl growing up with her.